Hello everyone. We're going to translate and explain all the Rashis of the first Mishnah in the third Perek of Masechet Megilah. We have to remember two things when learning a Rashi. First of all, what is the function of Rashi? And second of all, what is the understood question? So let's start. First, Dibur HaMatchil, Omed veYoshev. Im Rasa, Rashi says, if he wants Omed, he may stand. Im Rasa, if he wants Yoshev, he may sit. The understood question is, why does the Mishnah say Omed veYoshev, sits and stands? Rashi explains to us that it means you may choose whether you want to sit or you may want to stand. We had a question of how does that work? We know that if you go to Shul on Purim, the Baal Koreh always stands when reading the Megillah. And we answered that Rashi is talking about, when Rashi is saying that you may stand only when you're in a tzibur, and when you sit, it's talking about when you're by yourself. And we saw afterwards that the Rambam says that straight out. The Rambam Maimonides says that it's not kavod tzibur to sit while reading the Megillah for everyone. Therefore, according to the Rambam, you can only sit at home, but you stand when you're with a tzibur, when you're with a congregation. Next Rashi, kara'u shanaim, to read. The second halacha says that even if you hear two voices, it is considered a good reading and you're yoseh the mitzvah. Rashi starts, yachad. So this is what's called a read in Rashi. You read it together with the bold words. Kara'u shnaim yachad. Two read together. Yatsu'u. They have fulfilled their obligation. V'lo amninan. And we do not say, en shne kolot nishma'in ke'echad. En shne kolot. Two voices. We don't say two voices are not heard, nishma'in ke'echad, like one. We do not say two voices are not considered heard. What is Rashi talking about? First of all, this Rashi is explaining to us. It's an explanatory Rashi. Second of all, the understood question is that there is a concept that two voices cannot be heard. When two voices, and such a concept exists when it comes to testimonies, edut. When two people come to testify against someone, they're not allowed to say it at the same time, because we have a klal, we have a general rule in regards to testimony, in shnei kolot nishmain, the two voices cannot be heard. When it comes to Kriyat Megilah, we say that's not true. You're allowed to hear two voices at the same time, as long as Rashi makes a point of saying, as yachad, that they say it together. So the understood question here is, how are two voices be able to let a person fulfill his obligation of Kriyat Megilah? Rashi answers that because they're saying it together, and we do not have that klal of en shnei kolot nishma'in ke'achad when it comes to Megilah. Next Rashi, lo yivarech. In a place, third halacha says in a place where the custom is not to say beracha, you do not say beracha. Rashi explains, en sarich levarech. You do not have to say beracha. What that means is that you have a choice. You may choose to say beracha, but you don't have to. Again, the understood question is, what's the point? Obviously, if the minhag is not to say a beracha, you do not say a beracha. So why does the Mishnah have to say that to us? Rashi is telling us it's a choice. It means that if you don't, the minhag is not to say, you may choose not to say. Next Rashi, and of course that was explanatory. Next Rashi, B'sheni u'v'chamishi b'shabbat u'v'shabbat lemincha. On Mondays and Thursdays and on Shabbat mincha. So Rashi is going to tell us, explain this is an explanatory Rashi. He's going to explain to us where this whole concept of reading on Mondays and Thursdays came from. Rashi says, Ezra Tiken, Ezra, who was a Navi, who brought the Jews back from Babel to Eretz Israel after the 70-year period of the first Beit Mikdash being destroyed. So Ezra Tiken, he enacted Sheyu Korin, that they should read in synagogues, B'sheni u'v'chamishi, on Mondays and Thursdays, and that's brought down to Baba Kama Perek Merubeh, in the Masechet of Baba Kama, chapter Merubeh. And Rashi tells us, Ve'acha ashmeinan, and here he taught us, the Shloshahen, that there's three people that will be reading, Kohen, Ve'Levi, Ve'Yisrael. A Kohen for the first Aliyah, a Levi for the second Aliyah, and Yisrael for the third Aliyah. Next Rashi, Ve'en mosifin alehem, and we do not add to it. Again, this Rashi is an explanatory Rashi. Shelo yakshe latzibur. Shelo, that it will not yakshe, be hard, latzibur, for the congregation. Mipnei, because shehen yemei melacha. These are days where people work. They're working days. In other words, we don't want to add aliyot to the regular 3 on a weekday and 4 on Rosh Chodesh and Chol HaMoed, because these are working days, and on working days we don't want to force people to stay longer because they're adding aliyot to the Torah. Now, what about Shabbat? Shabbat we don't work. So Rashi explains that. With Shabbat and Mincha, and the reason why we don't allow Musafin on the Mincha service of Shabbat, Samuch HaShacha, it's close to the evening. Why is it close? Meaning they used to pray Mincha Shabbat close to the evening. Why? Shehare Kol Hayom Hayu Ragilin Nidrosh. Because throughout the day, it was normal to go hear shiurim, go hear classes, but they'd spend the whole day learning Torah, and Mincha was very close to nightfall. And we don't want to keep the people past nightfall by adding more aliyot to the reading that was done during Mincha. Next Rashi, Ve'en maftirin, we do not say a maftir, meaning we don't say a haftarah on Mondays and Thursdays and Saturday afternoon. Why? Again, explanatory. Right? Again, understood question, why? Mishum hai tama gufe. Because of the reason in itself. In other words, the same reason mentioned above. Mishum, because ha tama, the reason, gufe, itself. The same reason we mentioned for Mondays and Thursdays, we don't want to keep people staying late. So too, we're not going to make them say a haftarah. Next. The opener and the closer. Understood. Rashi says, B'Gemara mefaresh. We explain that whenever you see a Rashi that says B'Gemara mefaresh, the Gemara will explain it. What it means is Rashi understood that when you learned that, you had a question. There's an understood question here. And Rashi's telling you, don't wait, hold that question. B'Gemara mefaresh. The Gemara will explain it later. This Bet Gimel Mem is an abbreviation for Gemara, Begemara. And again, we explained that when Rashi says this, it means that he figured out that you have a question, and he's telling you hold the question until we get to the Gemara, which will explain the question. The understood question that Rashi is talking about is, we say a beracha after every person. Why here only the person who starts and the last person who ends are the people that say a beracha? Why not the people in between? Next Rashi, last one. Ve'en mosifin alehen. When it comes to Rosh Chodesh and Chol HaMoed, we do not add extra either, just like on Mondays and Thursdays and Shabbat Mincha. Rashi says, Ve'rosheh Chodashim, on Rosh Chodesh, Chol HaMoed and Chol HaMoed, Nami Ika, there is also Bitul Melacha. Bitul Melacha. The waste of work. In other words, we don't want to cause people to have to lose work because we're keeping them in shul for longer. Now Rashi adds an extra thing. We know there's an halacha that on Chol HaMoed you are not allowed to work anyways, even though you're allowed to drive and use electricity, you can't do actual work like job to make money. There's a concept of dabar ha'abed, which means a financial loss. Even though on Chol HaMoed you're not allowed to work, you're supposed to pray, learn Torah, be with the family, etc. We allow you to engage in work if there might be a great loss. For example, you have a big contract coming, and as a result, you might lose that contract if you don't sign it on Chol HaMoed or don't meet with the people. We allow you Devar HaAbed. So over here, Rashi's saying, the Malechet Devar HaAbed Muteret, because great financial loss is allowed on Chol HaMoed, and we don't want you to have to stay late and maybe lose that work. As a result, again, Chol HaMoed, we do not add any type of mosif. Guys, I wish you good luck on your quiz tomorrow. Just letting you know there's extra credit. Whoever listened to this video is going to know the extra credit question. Whoever didn't listen to this video is not going to know the extra credit question. I'm asking you to please not tell your friends who didn't watch the video, because the point is that you should watch the video. And the extra credit question is, for tomorrow, you must list on the quiz all 10 halachot from the Mishnah. If you list all 10 halachot from the Mishnah, you will get an extra 5 points on your quiz. Good luck. Kol tuv.